Hello, I'm Nook. This is Kernel Failure.
Hello.
We're going to talk about some YouTube things,
It's YouTube things. Important business.
important things. What do you think?
I think that's a good intro. How do we know each other?
We're YouTube brothers,
Yeah.
obviously. We started. I was just looking at it. We started 4 days apart.
Madness.
You got me beat. You're my older twin. You got me beat by 4 days.
Yeah, I know, but as is always the case in sibling rivalry, you've since completely outstripped any progress that I've made, and you're
It's
double
a grudge I've been
sized.
hanging on to for a while.
Yeah, well, we were neck and neck for ages, and
Yeah, we were. We were real close. I just had like a bit of a boom there a few months ago. I think
what
it's
caused
threw
it?
us what threw us apart.
What was
But
the catalyst behind the exploding growth?
YouTube luck. I put it all into that.
Which game were you playing at the time?
I think the big boost was last fall, and it wasn't anything in particular. It's just I had several games. You know how it works. Like you do a video and you get your usual amount of views, and just all of a sudden you'll get one that YouTube will take and just sort of spew it to random people's homepages.
Yeah.
And I had 3 or 4 games that month that sort of exploded it. Kind of like the first. I did this for, I think probably in the same boat. I did this for like the first 3 years. I think I was at I think I hit like 10,000 subscribers after the 3rd year.
Yeah.
I think it's about where I was. And then all of a sudden, back when Starship Theory came out, you remember that one?
No.
It was sort of like a rim world in space.
Okay.
Built on a spaceship. Sadly got abandoned. But that was the first time I ever had a video that got like spewed out there like that. I never really had a big video,
Yeah.
one that people have their one hit. Never had one of those. I had that series that did really well, and that jumped me from somewhere in the 10s up to 20. And that's sort of just elevated it from the typical, I don't remember what I was getting then, the number of views I was getting per day,
Yeah.
and like tripled it, quadrupled it, and it's hung around there for quite a while.
So,
Yeah.
so what is your biggest hitter at the moment? How many views has your number one had?
I just hit 1 million on my biggest,
Ah,
which is World Box.
yeah.
Old World Box. It doesn't really fit with what I normally play on the channel, but that's one of those that
No, but it
YouTube
doesn't matter. No, it
spewed all
genuinely
over,
doesn't matter.
and I've done a few of those now, because they all seem to do pretty well.
No, because I'm in the same boat, and it causes quite a lot of kind of strokey beard action for me, is trying to figure out exactly why I am or aren't making any headway. So my number one just passed 200,000. So I've not had any level of breakout whatsoever. So your monster hit, or your monster hit, what sort of view count does that get in a month now? Even though it's obviously a little bit older.
Oh, it's still usually my number one, and I think it's normally around 30,000
Right.
a month views.
Well,
on
that
one.
stacks up, because you get YouTuber envy of kind of going like, why is it that I'm not? Why am I having to pedal so hard to try and get any traction anywhere at all? And what seems to work is if you do land a big hitter of any kind at all on your channel. In fact, it doesn't matter what size of channel you've got. The biggest hitter you get is the engine for views on a very long-term basis. So if you get something that goes off like a rocket and you get to, let's say, I don't know, 50,000, 100,000 views over the space of a couple of months, it will continue to just build and build and build in perpetuity. Whereas the lesser stuff on your channel just doesn't. It kind of it has its moment in the sun and then disappears.
Yeah, it has its half-life. It goes a couple days and then it dwindles out.
Yeah.
And then you get those few that come in, and that's what happened last fall. I had like four of them that would. They start out normal.
Yeah.
The first few days, nothing big, and then 5 days later, just all of a sudden, there's a surge in views in each of
Mm-hmm.
those, and it just happens from time to time. And it's just sort of the will of the almighty algorithm.
Well, yeah,
Um,
it is the will of the almighty algorithm, but it's right material, right place, right time.
yeah,
That's the golden circle of, hey, I made a winner. The actual quality of it doesn't generally tend to matter. It's just having the right stuff at the right time.
yeah.
But yeah, no, okay, right, good. But now we've got a very different philosophy when it comes to covering games. So I'm a long series kind of a guy, and I stick with games for months and months and months, and I put together massive long playlists that people can then work their way through. Whereas you are the complete opposite.
Yep. I started out that way.
Yeah,
I started out old games, playing like old XCOM and old Master of Orion. And I got a few that were, over 100 videos.
yeah,
And somewhere along the way, I sort of stumbled into the indie game world. And um, I kind of, I guess there was a point in there where I kind of had like, what's the point? What am I doing this for? Like, why would anyone watch me
yeah,
when you can go and watch Splattercat or Quill, someone that knows what they're doing,
yeah.
record and do these videos. And so I kind of saw myself as I like these indie games. I like weird games. I like to see myself as someone that goes in and kind of does a lot of digging and tries to find the more niche things and show them off. A lot of those are in early development, so there's not much more than one videos out that you can get, but it's sort of like a, hey, this is out there. And that's sort of where it grew.
And it
Just from trying.
leads to your view counts being all over the place, because obviously I don't
Oh, yeah.
I got into doing this on a fairly academic basis, and I try and work out why is something working versus not working, and your view counts they're up and down like a yo-yo, and it comes
Yep.
down to, I guess, how many people are looking for a video on the topic that you're covering.
Yep.
And when you find one that there isn't any competition, but there is a high level of interest, you do well. But then if there isn't any competition, then there's less interest, you don't do quite so well.
A lot of it boils down to what's coming out.
Right.
You get the views whenever, if you get a video out when a game is coming out, you get more people looking for it. And if you have like a lull in good new games coming out, like just in January, for instance,
Yeah.
wasn't really anything coming after Christmas. Is always like sort of that period of no one's going to release anything during the Christmas sale and early New Year. There's nothing coming out, so everything sort of drops, and then you just wait for the next wave, February or March, when the new stuff comes out and comes back.
So
it's a very
how many
up and down thing.
how many unique games have you covered? Do you know?
All together,
Yeah.
a lot. I typically get. I mean, I usually do one a day.
Right.
Usually one new one a day is typical. Sometimes I do two. Sometimes I don't get one done. So we'll say 350 a year
Okay.
for the past 4 years.
That's
So.
that's some strong going. So you're looking at what, 1,400 games that you've covered.
That's recorded. I test out a lot more than that don't get on the channel that I put in. I mean, I won't ever put in more than 10 minutes if it doesn't hook me or whatever. And
Yeah.
my usual system is to watch someone else play the game. Plenty of other folks out there that have at least
Okay.
have found him. So I'll just do that rather than why bother me trying to learn the game when I can just watch someone else dabble with it and try to get a hang of it and see if it's good,
Yeah.
and then I'll go in.
Okay.
I don't learn any games very well, as my commenters will proudly shout.
No, I'm
But I'm not here to show you how to play the game. I just show you the game.
Yeah, I'm just playing it. You can play it better if you like.
Yeah.
That's fine. No, I'm exactly the same. Is that, I mean, even doing a long series, but I could be at part 40 in a playthrough, and I'll have people going like, you're doing this all wrong, and I'm going to go, no, I'm not. There is no such thing as playing a game wrong. As long as you're having fun playing the game, you're playing the game right. That's what it was designed for.
That's
You
right.
want to go and take the optimum path, be my guest. That's not fundamentally what I exist for.
Mm-hmm.
Why did you get started then? I mean, for some reason, in some point in 2014, we both had the same brainwave at around the same time to start putting ourselves on the internet and subject to ridicule. Why?
I was bored. Was the short story. Uh, Me and my friends, we'd been played WoW and Eve, just sort of on my MMO group,
Yeah.
and they had all, and I had moved over to Dota, and we were playing that religiously for a year, 2 years,
Mm-hmm.
and I've never really burned out from a game, but I hate that game. I was great at first, but man, I have burned out from a game, and that's Dota. And it was Dota nights, and I was like, I can't do it. Even hanging with my friends, I can't do it. And I had really just recently, sort of discovered YouTube because my kids, who were pretty young then, were watching all like the Minecraft people,
Yeah.
And sort of my idea of what a YouTuber was some kid yelling and having a day. But there's a game coming out, and I thought, well, I'll take a look and see before I buy this game. Check it out. I stumbled across Quill 18, and I thought, hey, there's a normal person that's kind of like me. That's playing games that I like to
Yeah.
play. And to match all that up with, he had also put out like a tutorial on how to do this. With my extreme anger towards Dota 2 and boredom, and then I went and I thought I'm going to play some Master of Orion 2 on Twitch. And so I started streaming, and I had one person start watching me. Knowing what I know now, it was probably a bot,
Yes.
but I was very excited about
well,
it.
I don't know. You're in the early days for bot traffic at that point, but
Yeah, that's true. I came back
might
the
be some
second
weirdo.
day to finish the game, and that person came back for the second day.
Right.
And so then I was hooked. I was like, okay, this is good stuff. They didn't say anything, but there was someone watching me, and with that, and then I got into XCOM, and then I stuck with it. So that's the long story. Short story, I was bored.
It suddenly occurs to me that my video camera is placed directly in front of my webcam. So if you'd hoped to use this footage, it's totally useless to you. So I'll
Okay,
send
we only wanted to see 3/4 of your face anyway. So it's okay.
I'll either you can either go with it that way, and I can occasionally emerge from behind my flippy screen, or I'll send you the footage if you want to make use of it. All right, no, good stuff. So so it was Quill that you were kind of looking up to as like an aspirational channel when you kicked off.
Yeah, for sure. At the very beginning, he's all I watched. I found him playing Tropico 5 was the game that I found him playing.
Yeah.
And I got through into his channel. He was playing. He had Sid Meier's Pirates, and he had Master of Orion. He had all the stuff that I liked, and he was the only thing that I would watch for a long time. And so I emulated, especially early on. I emulated him, and that was sort of my inspiration, I suppose, or just this is how you do it,
And when did you ramp? So, I mean, did you go? Because you're a multi-video per day kind of a dude. You've done over 3,500 now, and I'm in second place there. I've only done 2,500. But I mean, we're both taking what could well be described as a slightly brute force approach to building up a channel presence.
Yeah.
When did you really start to kick it into high gear?
I've pretty much always done at least one video a day. Even from the start, I started out with Twitch. I thought, why do YouTube when you can just stream it and then move the VODs over? So when I did it early on, I did the Master of Orion, and I thought that's fun. Let's do it again. So I went back and played some Civilization 2 or Civilization 1
Right.
and the XCOM. And so I was just cranking, especially early on. I was cranking them out multiple. I didn't know the way to do it. So I was just throwing
Yeah.
as many videos as I could in a day. And it wasn't until I started really getting into a groove with XCOM, which was my third thing I played, which is still only like a week or 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
I started doing the one video a day thing just to try to make some sort of series because I was watching more YouTube and that's how they were doing it. So I guess I'll do it this way too.
Yeah.
And I've always done, I just always had, I don't think I've ever missed more than 2 days in a row from the whole time.
So do you ever take vacations? So you'll queue up a bunch of videos and take time out.
Yeah. I mean, not in the last year, but normally, yeah. We'll be gone for a week or so, and I think the longest I was gone was maybe 2 weeks, and I'll just get a batch recording, which I don't like doing.
Yeah.
But I'll just typically then I'll the last time what I did, I think I did a live stream, and I just played a bunch of different games on the live stream, and then just use those VODs as my vacation filler. Just to have something out there.
Yeah. No, I get that. That makes sense.
You always hear the stories of like the algorithm gets angry if you aren't consistent. And I guess because I've just never taken the vacation. I don't want to risk it.
I'm not sold on the stories. I don't think the algorithm gets angry. I think that you can please it, so it's not that you're punished if you take a spell of absence, but you can do better if you don't. And the one thing that I have noticed in a cause and effect fashion, and this might be what you saw last autumn, is when you have a successful video, it will give you. Here's how it works, right? I've observed enough to kind of get a semi-human, organic feel for how does this thing work. You put a video out. You have a normal reach of whatever your normal reach is, right? Let's say 100, right? For the sake of argument, it's 100 whatever, doesn't matter. When you put a video out, for the first couple of days, it goes to your normal 100. It reaches your normal 100 and goes, here you go, come and have a look at this. And so your regular folk, they'll come in and give it a look. If they stick around a little bit more than usual, then the algorithm will go, ooh, let's kick this one up a gear. Or if they respond at a higher rate than usual, the algorithm will go, let's kick this up a gear. And the other thing is, it's not your normal 100, it's 100 plus 10%. It adds an extra 10% on top to give you the ability to grow. Otherwise, you'd never get anywhere from zero. So you put your video out, the algorithm gives just a little bit of extra boost to see if maybe you attract some more people. And if you do well, it will then go, right, let's spool this one up a little bit further. Now, when you then release your subsequent video, it looks at your last one. And I think it looks over the last kind of 10 to 14 days of your performance over the last 10 to 14. And whether you are over-indexing compared to what it thinks you should do. And if you're doing well, it will go, right, let's add some more juice to this one as well. And so it runs on streaks. And if you hit a streak that where you're hitting popular video, like 3-4 in a row, it will keep applying more and more energy to the promotion that it's giving your work, and that's where the explosive stuff comes from. But if you then stick out one that completely fails to hit an audience whatsoever, it will go, oh, that's a bit disappointing, we'll drop the energy off a little bit. And the longer the streak of they're not interested anymore continues, the worse you get penalised for that until you're back to your resting heart rate, as it were. But I've seen that happen in enough places to kind of go, yeah, if you do nothing but hits one after another, the level of growth you get is extraordinary. Whereas you can take all of the energy out of that growth rate by putting out one or two videos that just don't find that same audience, and then you'll drop back off again. So it's about when you find the wave, you've got to sit on top of it. That's my theory anyway. And obviously, I'm really good at it. Obviously.
Have you had any times where you have the high runs, but you had the low runs where it just all of a sudden you get nothing?
Yep.
Have you had that happen? Yeah.
Yep.
And you get like a month. I've had a couple months. It's happened to where like it's just
a year.
Like, what's the point anymore? Where you get nothing.
I've been in an 18-month rut, and
it's discouraging. It's very discouraging.
Yeah, because the numbers stop going in the direction you want, or they keep going, but ever so gently, and you just have to. I mean, it's a mental headspace thing. You have to kind of go like, "Am I happy doing this?" You kind of go, "No, look, the numbers are all going up. They might not be going up at the pace that you want, but they are still kind of moving in the right direction. Shut up, get back to work." And then at some point the sun will shine again because you will be in the right place at the right time with the right video.
Yep, you gotta stick with it. That's the
you're not going to win if
the
you
golden
don't.
message. Well, we talked about my beginnings. I want to hear your beginnings. 4 days before me, what brought you?
I'd been working in the games industry for 14 years up to that point.
Developing?
Yeah, publishing. Mostly, I'm a community manager. That's my background. I got into the games industry by building communities, by being a webmaster, as it was called back in 2000.
The oldie days.
I was playing a heck of a lot of Ultima Online. That's my MMO of choice. Although Star Wars Galaxies was better. And I was building just clan sites and guild sites and ladders, which is what esports used to be called. And a job came up at EA to be the webmaster for Ultima Online in Europe. And I went, I've built so many websites for this game, I'm surely a shoo-in. And sure enough, I got a job. So I started out doing websites for EA, and then I moved over into managing the communities that had been built up. So I was managing communities for Battlefields and FIFA and The Sims and Need for Speed all at the same time, which is quite an interesting audience brain shift. But I've been doing that, and at the time I was working on Call of Duty for Activision, and the studio I worked for made the partner app Call of Duty Elite, which, if you don't remember, that's okay. Nobody really used it. And so they closed the studio down. The studio was based in California, and I was based in London. And I was there. It was the team's only UK employee, and I was there to look after rest of world. And I went, okay, yeah, that's fine. I'll look after rest of world. And they had a bit of studio reorganise after about 12 months of this app really going nowhere. And I went like, they're going to come for me any day. They're coming. I can feel it. And so Activision said, we've reorganised the studio, and unfortunately there isn't a role for you after the reorganisation. I went like, I've been waiting for the call. Because you hang around the games industry long enough, and you know that redundancies happen. You kind of go like, your role really doesn't make any sense anymore. So Activision said, here is a very large envelope full of cash. Thank you very much for helping us out. So I mean, absolutely no ill will on my side of things, because this is something you don't hear very often. Activision really do look after its employees incredibly well. EA do as well. These big, monstrous publishers that you kind of go, oh, they're destroying the games industry, they're actually really good for their employees. So Activision gave me a massive bag of cash, which was effectively, 9-10 months salary at the time.
Nice.
And I went, I've been in constant employment for 14 years working on games, and of late I have been increasingly talking to streamers and YouTube channels. And when I first got into the games industry, I was running fan sites. And as a community manager, I was looking after fan site owners, and I knew exactly what they wanted because I'd been one. I thought, I've got some time on my hands. People are offering me consulting work here and there to, so I can make some money doing that. I'll go out and learn what these, and this is right at the start of when they started being called influencers as well. I want to learn what they've been through so that I can help, so I can work with them better. And if I happen to become a YouTube millionaire at the same time, then I'll just accept that. That will be okay. It was an academic exercise. I wanted to get a feel for what's so hard. So, I mean, I was familiar with channels like Pro Syndicate and Ali and I'd done some work with Yogscast and with Hat Films. So I knew a wide variety of kind of channel approaches. Didn't want to be like any of them. I went, I'm a bloke in my early 40s. That's going to be my thing. I'm British and I'm a bloke in my early 40s. That's my hook. I went in. I started playing Factorio. So this was
that's what you started with, is Factorio?
Factorio, yeah. First 50 videos, all Factorio. And that was while it was still alpha. So it was before it was 2-3 years before it landed on Steam. So it was still, back it through the developer. So I played that. And then I added, I tried a few other games, but kind of bounced off them, but then found Train Fever. Which I was late to. It had come out and probably 6 months previous. And when I started covering it, there were actually only like 4, 5, maybe 6 channels that were covering it at all. And they were all quite they were all quite religious about the pace at which they were covering it. But they all had a very kind of serious-minded playthrough. Whereas I'd started learning, actually, I'm just going to muck about with it. I'm going to try, things that shouldn't work but kind of do, while still building up a full series. And so I gradually reined in and overtook each one of those channels. And it was like, I'm doing something right. And then Transport Fever, the sequel, came along, and I was the #1 Train Fever channel at that point. And so I had all of that authority, YouTube authority, that kind of built up behind me, and I gained 6,500-7,000 subscribers in a month. Which, when you're a 2,000 sub channel, you kind of go, this is it. It's massive. The big time. I'd look at the app every morning, and the peak would continue to grow, and I go, I don't know how long this is going to go on for, but it's amazing. So that was 2016, I guess. So after about 2 years, I kind of had a big surge, and then it was back to kind of grinding away, building back up again. So so that's why I got into it, to learn it. And as a result, I've got a massive spreadsheet full of data. I look at every video I've ever made. I used to do it on a weekly basis, but that became kind of unsustainable. So I now do it once a month, is I go through every video I've ever made and track how it's performing.
You just study the analytics of views.
I export all of the data and then analyze it in.
Oh, really?
Yeah, in other
Man,
ways.
I really like the analytics. I'm a bit of a numbers nerd. I stepped down from that though, because I don't do anything like that. It's one of the things that really hooked me on it on YouTube. And early on, they didn't have the real-time views thing back then.
Yeah,
but you could still keep an eye on the the views after, I think it was like a day or so when it came in. And I was addicted to those, just seeing all the numbers. And I'm always on the app, on the studio app, watch my stuff. But
how often?
I've never downloaded anything.
Hold on, I'll show it to the right count. How often do you look at that? You know, where
Multiple
you kind of
times
go
a day.
multiple times each day. You're kind of going, "How are we doing?
Yep.
Oh, all right, okay,
Yep.
all right.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
I'm embarrassed to say more than I should.
Yeah, no, it's addictive.
Whenever the real time views came out, which was what, like a year or so after, maybe not even that long after we started. I remember I would shameful to say, but I remember watching it, and I'd see a real time view come in on like part one, and I'd wait 30 minutes, and then there's a real time view on part two. I got
Beautiful.
one.
Actually, that's something interesting that I find on, because I mean the reason that I started tracking the videos on a video by video basis is I wanted to understand how does the long tail work. Will you continue to get views on older stuff after it's been published? And the short answer is yes. The longer answer is, but not as many as you are expecting, unless it is a major video. A video that performs strongly always performs strongly for years into the future.
Yep.
You know, I've got a part one on the original Transport Fever that is still doing 1,500, 2,000 views a month. Now, that's not a great number of views, but that game's 4 years old and it's been supplanted by a sequel since then, but it's still doing 4,000 views a month. And you kind of go like, well, all right then.
And from a money perspective, those big ones pay better ad revenue.
They really do. In a long term as well, it's what I used to call Britney Spears theory, right? Which shows about the time that I originated the theory. Anyway, Britney releases a new record, and it does okay. She makes a nice big splash of cash on day one, and then she goes on and works on new stuff. The amount of money she makes from it eases off, but it never drops to zero. So, 4 years later, and Britney's still getting a couple of bucks a month off that one record she put out because it's still generating a few sales every month. Fast forward 20 years, and assuming she's got a career, which was why it was Britney Spears' theory, I assumed that she would have a long, illustrious career and wouldn't go the path that she's chosen there. And it would still be generating a couple of bucks here and there. And you kind of go like, now you can't make a living off that one item, although, many popular one-shot wonder songs have done. But she's recorded other stuff since then. She hasn't got one thing. She's got 500 things that are all contributing a trickle of interest on a monthly basis. And she's benefiting from that. So analysing the long tail was something that I desperately wanted to do. But you can see people move through playlists. When I was analysing it on a weekly basis, you would see, a chunk of people one week would arrive in, part one of a 2-year-old playlist. And then the following week, you'd see that they'd moved through parts 2, 3, 4, 5. I get probably one comment a month going, I'm watching this whole playlist back to back over the course of the weekend, and you kind of go, there's like 70 hours of video in there, dude. I mean, take a break from it, for crying out loud. I mean, you're going to be just listening to me chuntering on and on and on all weekend. I'm not sure the human mind is equipped for that.
I think one thing that does, I've just sort of had a thought about this a few months back, because I do the one video a day, different game.
Yeah.
And you do a big series. And I think that you may have a more loyal following of viewers.
Yeah, consistent.
When I think of who I watch,
yeah,
I watch the people that put out the series. And those are the ones I consider my loyal YouTube watchers, or that I watch.
Yeah.
There's some people that I watch that do what I do, where they just do different. And I like their stuff, but I wouldn't consider myself a fan. And so I've tried to get back into that a little bit, where I do a little series on things, just to kind of. It's also fun for me, and that's sort of my channel motto is.
If you've got the right
make
game,
sure it's fun.
Sure.
It's got to be fun for me.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I won't do it. And so I think that there's certainly a benefit in doing the long term stuff for the.
There's also a downside to it. What is your normal subscriber to non-subscriber split?
It's usually in the 33-ish subscribed, high 60s non.
Flip it. That's what I get. So
Oh, really? It's that
I'm
high?
at about 65 to 70% already subscribed. Now that's great because it means that I'm kind of kicking out the stuff that they actually want to see.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, that in itself brings its problems. Is that once you build a kind of a genre base, if you move outside that genre base, you've got to build up a fresh audience to watch that genre being played. But okay, it's another one of my little theories. The little theories, I've got loads of them. Right, is that there are three kinds of viewers. Right, you got your viewer type number one, who quite happily watches your video because they were searching for that subject matter. They stumble across your video, they enjoyed it, they watch it. Maybe they come back for another one, maybe they don't. Viewer type number two is the kind of, they turn up for the video that they want to see because they've searched it or been recommended it or whatever, but they watch that and they kind of go, yes, this is the person I want talking to me on this topic. And so they are loyalist within that kind of topic area or that kind of genre bubble, however big that might be. And then your third tier viewer, love those guys. They'll watch you reading the phone directory. They'll watch anything. You put anything out and they're going to go, I'm there, I'm into it. What do you got for me today?
Yep.
And I've got a reasonable number of, and you're never going to get everybody into that group three kind of a mix, unless you have a shtick that is particularly appealing. So one of my go-to channels for kind of referencing here's someone who has done it right is Josh at Let's Game It Out, and he just destroys games. By taking them to extremes, and he's quite funny, and therefore I'll watch him play anything. It doesn't matter, and I imagine all of his viewers will watch him play anything because it just doesn't matter. But he started out just doing kind of Satisfactory and ruining it. But there you go. So I mean, that's kind of your three viewer groups. But it means that, we're 70% of my audience being kind of focused on the genre. If I want to go, the worst thing I can do on my channel is play a space game. Any kind of science fiction-y game whatsoever, and my regular audience who tend to like real world networks, trains, infrastructure building, that kind of zone, maybe you could spin out into a bit of Tropico. That's okay. I could probably go for Civilization and not lose too many of those recurring viewers. But if I go and play something sci-fi, I get a lot of people just going to go, no, it's not for me. I did a very long-running baseball series on Sundays. So I play Super Mega Baseball on my channel for a palate cleanser. I wanted to be able to commentate on something else, just as a reset the brain and talk about something different. And then without any shadow of a doubt, every week my views would be like this during the week, and then Sunday would roll along, which is when my baseball video came out, and it got dropped like a rock. But the people who watched it loved it. They go and go, I know exactly why you're doing this. I get this entirely. So I've spun that out on a separate channel because otherwise what you end up doing is you build one audience who likes one thing, you build another audience who likes another thing. They don't like each other's things, apart from those lovely type 3 viewers who watch everything. And you end up in a scenario where, on a regular basis, you are failing to attract the people that you've already done the job of bringing in the first place.
Yeah.
But then, what do I know? You've got double my number of subscribers. Dang-nammit. Are you full-time now?
I am. Yeah. Thanks to the pandemic, I'm full-time. I got kind of lucky because at the end of last year, whenever that big boom happened, it gave me the confidence that maybe I had a part-time job forever. Even before I did YouTube, I had an eBay store. So I kind of worked out from home. And it was always my joke was the secret to having to being self-employed is to have a part-time job. because
Right.
you have those months where you're eating good, and then you have those months where you're you're
Where
not.
it's not so hot.
And so having that part-time job is, it kind of balances out. If I need to, I can get more hours. It's just delivering pizzas for the last few years, and so I always held on to that at least one day a week, just to have that around. And then I dropped down to I was doing like maybe once every couple weeks, just and then calling in sometimes on those days. At the end of last year, because end of last year money or end of the year money, that's big time, and for YouTube. And I kept it going in January, kind of worried because January ad revenue is bad, but it held on, and then the pandemic hit in March, and I wasn't going to go around to strangers' houses handing them,
No, sure.
pizzas and having them cough all over their cash and hand it to me. So I quit. Well, I went on leave, but then I quit, and ever since then it's held strong. So
So
I've been lucky.
what's your mix? I mean, I don't need to know your actual numbers. So are you purely generating an income from AdSense, or have you got some other sources going on there as well?
I got ad revenue and Patreon and the YouTube members thing,
Yeah.
and sponsored videos. They do well. They are my part-time job, self-employment.
We will
If
have
get
to
a
have
little
an
low,
offline
throw a sponsor one in
conversation
there,
about
and
what you charge for a sponsored video, because that's the thing is I don't do that many sponsorships. I get them come along once in a while. Obviously, I'm not as appealing because I'm a bit smaller, but they come along once in a while, and I kind of go like, I'm just gonna ask them for my day rate. Because I do consulting work in the games industry, although I'm also a
yeah,
kept man in the games industry at the moment as well. I'm still kind of almost full time working for a game developer, and yeah, so I'll just charge my consulting rate for a sponsor video, but you've no idea what to charge.
yeah. I think the first time I got one, I looked everywhere. Like, hopefully someone would be talking about it. I had no clue.
Yeah,
And they asked. This is back. This has been 3 years now, 2 years now. So I wasn't very big. I was maybe 40,000 subscribers. I wasn't.
yeah.
I was. And they said, "What's your rate?" And it was a game. I'm sure I'll play this game. It's one of my things. And so I was like, I have no idea. I was like, I don't know, $50. And I was like, well, I'll try this. I'll just say, what did I word it? I worded it some way of like, why don't you tell me? Basically,
Yeah,
what you
that's
want.
what you want. You gotta go
I don't
like,
remember what I
tell
said
me
exactly,
Tell
but
me what you're prepared to pay, and I'll let you know if that's enough.
yeah, basically is what happened, and they came back with a number that I did not expect,
Oh, I see. So
and so
quite a pleasing
I've
number.
used it. It was I was happy,
Yeah.
and so they're like, "Will this work?" I was like, "That'll do." So
What fist
I've used that
pumping
kind of as a
behind your
guide.
computer.
So I assume they know how much how much to pay YouTubers. So I use that as my guide to how much
Yeah.
to ask.
Well,
So
that's a good way to go.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, my first couple were like, "Hi, I've got an indie game coming up. You do sort of management games. I've got a sort of management game. If I give you $100, can you cover me video?" And I went, "Yeah, all right. Yeah, okay, that sounds like fun.
yeah,
If it's the sort of thing that actually fits my genre. It's always nice when they come to you with something that fits what you actually cover, rather than something where you kind of go like, no, I'm not that. I'm not that channel." For $100, I went, "Yeah, sure, I'll cover it. Have fun with it, and it's all good." The one mistake I
yep.
had with one sponsored set of videos that I did, that I will not be making a mistake like that again, was allowed them to have a say on the edit before it went live.
Oh yeah, I had one of those where they was like that, and it was I think it was 4 videos, maybe 5 videos that I did of it.
Yeah,
They paid well, but they wanted the video to be able to say if they could edit it, and they also wanted to like me to send them my Twitter post that I was going to send before sending it out. They wanted
Wow.
a Twitter
Okay.
post.
Yeah.
Not that I have a Twitter following, but they wanted it. Yeah, and that was annoying. Every video, they're like, "Can you change this a little bit?" I was like, "I
And
don't
you kind
really.
of go like,
I don't separate my audio.
By
I
changing
just
that, it doesn't actually change anything of any importance. It's like, you know,
Yeah.
they don't take editorial control. They're not changing the tone on stuff, but they're going like, oh, could you remove that, like that 30-second block there, and maybe use a little bit of extra footage? And you kind of go, oh, it's just a hassle. I'm still going to be saying the same thing. You're going to get the same upshot. You care about it. The people watching it just won't care. Yeah. No, sponsor videos are an interesting one.
Yeah.
But I see it from both sides. So I mean, I've worked with and work for companies who will sponsor people to play stuff. And what I always suggest is pick the channel that you know they're going to do the kind of job that you want. Where you can just kind of go like, if you could put this up at 6 p.m. on insert day here, that'd be great. And they'll go, yeah, all right. You kind of go,
because the YouTuber knows their audience and they know what they're.
You like their style and tone. They know their audience. Leave them to it.
Yep.
Let them do the thing that is the reason you're talking to them in the first place.
Yep.
But they are. Yeah. No. Yeah. Good. Right. Okay.
Do you have a so your big thing is train feeder? It's still your big thing,
train type stuff. Yeah.
I know you do a lot of train stuff. I was watching your your NIMBY Rails actually.
Do you know,
I'm a fan.
I want to know how many people bought the game off the back of watching my videos.
It's funny because you did it, and I watched you. Probably watched all your videos on. I think you did like 4, 5, 6 of them.
Yeah.
I was into it. And I saw obviously the YouTuber in me saw they were doing really well on your channel, and I'll play that. So I used you as a learning experience as well.
Happy to oblige.
I played it, and it did terrible. It didn't go over well at all on my channel.
Train channel, train game. See, that's a nice marry up. And yeah, I mean, I never wanted to be a train channel. I've said this a few times. I never wanted to be a train channel. I'm not that big a fan of trains. I like them, sure. I could pick a few out of a lineup as well. But it's not the overriding passion that some people have for trains. And those guys are great, but it's not me. I like science fiction, and I've clearly led myself down a path that was perhaps not the wisest. But you know what? I'm enjoying being there. I embrace the trainitude. But when I was back in the early days of building up my channel, I would let people who started, subscribing and commenting regularly on my videos, they would add me on Steam. And I'd go, yeah, come on in. And so I've got like a couple of hundred people from the early days who are on my Steam friends list. I no longer accept anybody at all. If I don't recognise you, I'll go, nope, block, 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 block. I don't care who you are. You ain't getting in unless I'm letting you in.
Don't accept friends from people you don't know. That's what I tell my kids.
We're setting a terrible example. But when I played NIMBY Rails, because the dev came to me directly, he'd obviously gone to YouTube and wrote train games, and looked at the top 10 channels and went like, that guy came to me and goes,
I think I had to hunt him down because after I watched yours, I had to email him.
Yeah.
See if I could get a key.
Well, he came to me, and he came to another channel, Skystorm, who covers the same kind of stuff as I do, and is triple the size. And he covered it, and it did quite well. I covered it and did it really well. And I think that we just have a slightly different audience mix. But when I started playing it, nobody on my friends list had it. By the time I'd finished, it was like 50, 70 people on my friends list had picked it up. And so I was going like, if only Steam did kickbacks, that would be
nice.
That would be lovely.
Yeah.
It's one of the nice things that the Epic Store does.
Epic's nice. They are very generous to us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
for
a lot of people are
reference,
angry about Epic, but
on a typical
my
basis, if you use a creator code to pick something up off Epic, the think about the 10% mark. It varies wildly from game to game, but however much you paid for it, think about 10% is what the creator who you used their code for gets.
I think it tells you, doesn't it? Whenever you buy it, it tells you this guy's going to get this much.
Yeah.
Am I thinking of a different one?
And it's great. Because, I played Airborne Kingdom in January, which, I loved that game. I loved that game so much I finished it. I never finish games. I also have a tendency to play games that can't be finished, but that's neither here nor there.
I didn't know that one could be finished either.
I
did 3 videos on that one.
It's not too long either. You can get through it in I don't know, 12 hours, 14 hours, something like that. But it didn't do well on my channel. It did okay. It introduced some more canon of characters into my back catalogue of characters that I've introduced, so that's all good. But quite a few people went off and bought it as a result because it was only available on Epic. And it's a not insignificant sum. I probably made $500-600 out of just kickbacks from people buying it. I
think that's maybe more than I've made altogether on Epic.
Oh,
it's a small amount, but
I do all right. You just have to embrace the sellout once in a while. You just have to. It's like I've been pushing baseball caps. Hold on, wait, where is it? There we go. Available for a limited time only.
Oh, you got your camera in the way. I can't see it.
You've got to have it. But yeah, no, I've been pushing those over the last week because I work with a merch company. That was a funny conversation. They work with some big channels. So they work with Yogscast, they work with Spiffing Brit, they work with a couple, and I had a conversation with them early last year. And through it, I thought, I'm auditioning to see if I'm good enough to be on their roster of channels that they provide kind of merchandise and sort of agency services for. And then only about 3/4 of the way through the conversation, I went like, am I auditioning you? So am I seeing if am I supposed to be asking the questions? Because I thought, but it was completely the other way around. They wanted to work with me, and they were doing their hard sell. And I was thinking like, I'm there to see if my aspirations and likely growth lines up with what they think is going to happen. Very funny conversation. But we're experimenting with because I've never done very well for merch. Do you run merch?
I do. I think nobody buys anything.
No.
Why would you?
No. Well, exactly. I
bought some.
Right. I only got into making merch because I wanted it.
I bought some, and I got recognized once while I was at the zoo. And
nice.
I've never worn my merch since because I don't want to get recognized.
I've never had
it. Was great.
Never been recognized.
Imagine the day I get recognized, and it happened. That was great. As long as it never happens again.
No, my other half routinely says to me, she goes, at some point, we're going to have some random dude come up to you and go, you're Colonel Failure. And I got to go, yes, I am. And she goes, at that point, I'm disowning you. We can never go anywhere proper again.
Yep. Then you'll be the big time.
Yeah. Okay, good. You know what? I think this wraps it up quite nicely for a first foray. But for a little bit of context at the end of the video, at the start, if you're still here, you probably don't care about context, but the context is that I don't know who reached out to who first, but it became apparent that we'd both started our channels on the same day. So probably 3 years ago, 4 years ago. And we were almost exactly the same size for year after year after year. I mean, obviously, Nookrium's flipping exploded all over the flaming place since then. But we've always been going, we should do a collab of some description. We should hook up and combine our
One of these
powers.
days. Just you wait. we're just waiting for the right game, is what it is.
Yeah. Something will turn up. I'm sure. You know, given that we both play single player the entire time, I'm sure something to get our social isolationism working together. So we decided. But no, actually, you posted in your video, your monthly update video for February. You said, I don't have any YouTube friends. And I said, well, that's patently untrue. I go, how quickly you forget. So we decided just to have a chat. If you liked this chat, stick a comment below about what conversation you would like us to have next. If nobody puts that in there, or if very few people put it in there, we won't have any more conversations.
Disown each other. No longer YouTube brothers.
No. This will be a one-night stand that, you know, we both deeply regret and refuse to talk about. God, I've done my part of the outro. You've got to take it home now. See, I've set you up. There's the layup.
Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed 3/4 of the Colonel's face. Sometimes half. There we go.
I'll do some quality enough. Control on that next time.
You're good. Anyway, I don't have anything else to say.
Do you have a standard sign off?
Thanks for watching. Is that it? Keep it simple, yeah.
How do you know that you finished? Do you just go for thanks for watching and that's it?
I have that internal YouTube clock. 25-minute hits. And I look over 25 minutes.
I used to
This
have
is a good
that.
place to stop.
I don't have it anymore. No, everything gets out of control. I look over and it goes 47 minutes. I go, I didn't want this to be a 47-minute video.
Sometimes I get lost in the game and it goes a little longer, but
I'll show you how professional does it, right? Anyway, I've been Colonel Failure. If you enjoy this kind of behaviour, why not subscribe? There are worse things that you can do to yourself. Meanwhile, we'll see you respectively on our individual channels. Maybe both. Maybe decide that both channels is the way to go. And that would be good, wouldn't it? Yeah, wouldn't that be good?
2 monitors. Yeah. Why not?
In stereo.
In space on one screen, on the rails on the other.
Just mute the one you're less interested in and let us know which channel it was muted. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Cheerio. See, I use
Thanks for watching.
As a you know, that's how I let people know I'm done here. And then I go into my outro. You're getting an outro.
I don't have an outro. See, I don't do that.
Yeah, I know.
I'm too lazy for any sort of editing. Years ago, I decided no outros, no editing. Do the video, throw it up there, done.
Smash it, chuck it up. Yeah, no, that's the way to victory.